Spanish is available. To access that, go to the bottom of your screen, click on the globe icon, and select your language of choice, which in this case could be Spanish. The BlueTech for Waste Challenge was launched on April 19th. That was just 2 days ago, and it targets 12 countries in the Caribbean. This session, is a resource that we are putting forward for potential applicants like you. It's meant to provide information for organizations who are sustainably managing chemicals and waste and other pollutants that are affecting our ocean economy, or as we like to call it, our blue economy. If you belong to an organization that is currently innovating in this space to address the damage that chemicals and pollutants are causing to the environment and human beings, we encourage you to apply now. The IDB Group wants to work with you and support your endeavors. This challenge complements the IDB Group's efforts to strengthen the management of hazardous chemicals and waste in the Caribbean, from regulators to policymakers and government ministries. Given the nature of the Caribbean and its economies and their reliance on tourism, it is imperative to prioritize and address this issue as soon as possible, both at public and private sector levels, unlocking investment and fostering innovation to adequately manage hazardous chemicals and waste that have the potential to negatively impact our biodiversity and natural capital in the Caribbean region. So to start us off, I would like to introduce to you Irene Arias. She is the CEO of IDB Lab, which is the innovation laboratory of the Inter-American Development Bank Group. Irene, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Golda. It's a pleasure to be here today. And let me start by briefly explaining to our external audience what IDB Lab is. IDB Lab is the innovation laboratory of the Inter-American Development Bank Group, the leading source of development finance and expertise for improving lives in Latin America and the Caribbean. It comprises also IDB and IDB Invest, and together with IDB Lab, we work under Vision 2025 to support a more sustainable and inclusive recovery of Latin America and the Caribbean. And at IDB Lab, we do that through innovation. We are convinced that the region needs new models. It needs to tap into new technologies in order to fight the climate crisis, to improve the recovery of the region. It needs new engines of growth in order to improve lives of poor and vulnerable population. And we have been doing that for 3 decades at IDB Lab. We've supported over 2,700 projects with more than 1,500 partners, and for a value of over $2 billion. Some of these partners include the Global Environmental Facility and its Global Islands program. And with them, we're launching this second edition of the BlueTech Challenge. In this edition of the BlueTech Challenge, we are focused on how to adequately manage hazardous chemicals and waste that have the potential to negatively affect the region's biodiversity and natural capital. It complements actions supported by IDB with regulators, policymakers, and sector ministries. Given the nature of the Caribbean economies and its reliance on tourism, it is imperative to prioritize and tackle this issue through public-private sector collaboration. And as with other deep-rooted challenges of the region, innovation is key, and new technology can help us leapfrog and accelerate the deployment of effective and scalable solutions. So this BlueTech Challenge is a great innovative financial mechanism through which IDB Lab is supporting the private sector, particularly startups and other small firms that are innovating in this space with circular economy models and other ideas that can help sustainably manage hazardous chemicals and waste. So we invite all of you innovators with new technologies and new models aimed at fighting the climate crisis and preserving the health of our ocean and our planet. So please apply. The deadline is May 31st at midnight Eastern time. And thank you from now for your applications.
Thank you so much for that introduction to the work of IDB Lab and to this amazing challenge. What a great opportunity for organizations that are already working in the Caribbean to implement better environmental practices. So we're lucky to have with us today one of the winners of the BlueTech Challenge from 2018, Edouard Carrie. Edouard is the CEO and founder of Environmental Cleaning Solutions in Haiti. Hello, Edouard. Good to have you here with us. Please explain the challenge that your organization has tackled and how have you solved that challenge?
Thank you, Golda. Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody. So I'm pretty sure most of you guys are aware of the pollution crisis that's happening globally. We now have facts that over 16 billion pounds of plastic has been entering our ocean worldwide. So plastic debris and microplastics are carried out by ocean currents, where large pieces of plastic poses choking and entanglement hazards for marine life, and microplastics transfer toxic chemicals further up the food chain. Now, being in Haiti, Haiti actually generates very high volume of that plastic pollution into the ocean. And that's due to poor waste management infrastructure. So additional, with limited access to clean water and frequent outbreaks of cholera, Haiti has been being forced to offer its community with water bottles and water sachet, which tend to end up in the oceans. And these bottles and sachet are discarded on the streets along with other garbage, which clogs up the drains, canals, and sidewalks. This causes flooding during the rainy seasons. And eventually this plastic enters the ocean we have over 1,100 miles of coastline. So that gives you an idea of the problem that I was being faced. So I dedicated myself as a mission to solve that, to work on the pollution crisis. And so we applied with IDB because we had an innovation problem and was preventing that plastic before it enters the ocean. So EXA is part of the IT Blue Ocean Plastic Solution. We work with a foundation called PADF, which stands for Pan American Development Foundation. So we try to put our strength together and tackle basically three different ways of tackling this problem. One was being able to create this project with, with affordable capital. That's where IDB really helped us out. We wanted to have a system where transparency, accountability, and efficiency in the ocean-bound plastic supply chain. And third, we aim to sustain engagement of coastal communities who were well positioned to be key actors of the on a last mile standpoint. So that's what we aim to work with all that.
No wonder you were selected as one of the winners of the 2018 challenge. The work that you're doing is absolutely phenomenal, and the focus on recycling is so important, especially for the Caribbean. I know that we have limited time for you, so one final question. To what extent can challenges of sustainably managing chemicals and waste become sustainable business models or a business opportunity?
That's a good question. I think once you realize that, once you can turn, there's demands for all these kinds of products, and plastic happens to be like a petroleum-based product. So once you realize that you can actually transform that plastic, it automatically becomes an opportunity. And again, having the IDB that did this project and the help of PADF, we were able to partner up to get it into something bigger. Now we're processing, millions of pounds of plastic. We're preventing together plastic from entering the ocean. So, this went further from just preventing plastic from the ocean, but to a sustainable opportunity. We're doing this as for a profit, and yeah, it's been great.
It's definitely an inspiring journey that you've been on. Thank you for taking the time to share it with us, and especially with potential applicants who are thinking about how their business could benefit from this specific challenge. Thank you, Edouard. Have a wonderful day. And for those of you listening who have not yet explored the resources that we have available, we have quite a few available to tell you more about the BlueTech for Waste Challenge. We have the BlueTech webpage, frequently asked questions. We have a dedicated mailbox. We have guidelines which detail every single aspect of the challenge. And we will be sharing in a few moments the ways for you to contact, or for you to have all of these resources at your disposal so that you can understand every single aspect of this challenge and how to apply. And in a few moments, we'll also take a couple of your questions. So if you could please use the Q&A function, we will get your questions to the BlueTech Challenge team, well, as many as we can accommodate, and we will have them answer those questions for us. So please start loading us up with your questions as soon as possible. So now I'd like to invite two members of the BlueTech Challenge team to walk us through the basics of the BlueTech for Waste Challenge. They're going to take us step by step. Team, the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Golda, and welcome potential BlueTech applicants. So this second edition of the BlueTech Challenge is supporting the sustainable management of hazardous chemicals and wastes in the Caribbean region. Next, please. IDB Lab, as Irene mentioned, the innovation laboratory of the IDB Group, is seeking to attract applicants that need financial support to develop and implement innovative solutions to sustainably manage chemicals and waste in order to protect human health and the environment in the Caribbean region. Next. The solutions IDB Lab is looking for must aim to address challenges posed by these 9 waste streams, which we will prioritize with the challenge. Used lubricating oils. This waste stream is generated in large quantities in transportation, electricity generation, and industrial sectors. Used and end-of-life tires, same here, the transportation sector generates the bulk of this waste stream, and its disposal in landfills and open dump sites throughout the Caribbean poses both a human health hazard as well as management issues, as they take up large amounts of space in landfills or are disposed by burning, which worsens pollution. Used and end-of-life vehicles are in most cases subject to very informal recovery efforts or are just left to decay in abandoned areas. The volume of non-depolluted vehicles pile up around landfills and other dump sites and represent a large pollution potential. E-waste is generated from a very wide range of economic activities, ranging from household waste generation to sophisticated technology-generated waste. Plastics. In this particular challenge, we are not only referring to what Edouard mentioned with ocean-bound plastics, but mostly with those that may contain or may be contaminated by hazardous substances or mixed with hazardous wastes, and as such may pose a risk to human health and the environment. Industrial waste includes trash, oil, solvents, garbage, chemicals, wheatgrass, trees, and other similar wastes. Municipal solid waste and organic waste, that 70% of total waste streams goes to landfills. And these wastes are easily combustible and lead to the rapid spread of landfill fires. It's not surprising that with the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, medical waste generation has increased and has been improperly discarded. Even the personal protective equipment, hand sanitizer containers, face masks, and gloves are increasingly appearing in our rivers, oceans, and coastal areas. And finally, hazardous pesticides will also be prioritized as long as they contribute to the reduction of environmental pollution in participating countries. The geographic scope of the challenge includes these 12 countries that you see on screen. So organizations from these 12 countries are invited to apply. However, we are also inviting organizations from any of the 48 member countries of the IDB to apply as well, as long as they partner with an organization from one of these 12 target countries that you see on the screen. So we are hoping to stimulate partnerships. We are hoping to stimulate technology transfer, but the knowledge and the technology must stay in one of these 12 countries we are aiming to benefit. Startups with ready-to-implement solutions, small and medium-sized enterprises, corporations, NGOs, and other organizations with demonstrated expertise in managing one of the 9 priority waste streams are invited to apply. Remember that if the applicant organization is not located in one of the 12 target countries, it must form a partnership and co-apply with an organization from one of the 12 countries we are aiming to support. What is a ready-to-implement solution? Is an innovation that can demonstrate successful deployment of a prototype or a minimum viable product. Pre-selected applicant organizations will be subject to a due diligence process that is very typical of the IDB group, in which we will evaluate their technical and financial capacities and determine the level of technical support from IDB Lab they would need to receive in order to transform their solution or model into a full-fledged development project. After that, if they get selected, they will receive funding from IDB or IDB Lab and or GEF to implement their business model. Selected applicants also gain visibility, exposure, and they will become part of our network of partners with ample opportunities to participate in several events organized by the IDB group to showcase the winning solution. The types of financing offered are on screen. They range from grants, which are non-reimbursable, to contingent recovery grants and reimbursable loans. They are also offered to support the applying innovations. Please refer to the guidelines document, which is the single most important document of the challenge that you must review, and which has a detailed description of each of these types of financing to determine which one will be the best fit for your type of organization and your business model. Proposed business models must be anchored in innovative technologies and processes. They must aim to achieve social, economic, and environmental impact. Models must also include gender considerations. It is well known that chemicals and waste affect men, women, and indigenous communities in equal manner. However, activities to avoid reinforcing existing gender inequalities to give equal opportunities for men and women to participate in the project will be positively considered and even get higher scores during evaluation of the application. Business models must also have potential for scale or replication in the country where they will be implemented. And they must aim to achieve financial sustainability when IDB Lab's resources are depleted, or even demonstrate repayment capacity in the case of loan applicants. IDB Lab also conducts a comprehensive due diligence of shortlisted applicants to evaluate their technical capacities, as I mentioned before. So models must also be viable for implementation, including definition of potential risks that may affect successful implementation and their mitigating actions. Remember, we are looking for real projects, not just ideas. In addition, the proposed models must also contribute to at least one of the indicators you see on screen. They must aim to reduce, eliminate, or avoid A, chemicals of global concern and their waste in the environment. B, emissions of persistent organic pollutants. And C, reduction of marine litter. As Golda mentioned, the challenge was launched on Tuesday, April the 19th, and will be open for 6 weeks, closing on May the 31st at midnight Eastern Standard Time. The IDB BlueTech team will then review proposals in the months of June and July, and selected applications will be announced in the month of August. Please do not wait until the last minute to apply. Also note that the challenge has its own webpage where you can find links to the challenge guidelines, the most important document that you must review. You will also find a link to some useful frequently asked questions. Applicants will also use the UNoodle online platform to complete an online application and upload required legal documents, and as well as a very simple project budget. And remember, if the applicant organization resides outside the region, it needs to co-apply with an organization located in one of the 12 target countries where the project will be implemented. So a collaboration agreement must also be uploaded in this case. Please keep in mind that when you apply online, you will be required to explain your proposed solution and business model from the perspective of the challenges that you are addressing with it, the population you will benefit when your business model or solution is implemented, and to which of the three indicators I mentioned, the model will be contributing. More on how to do this with Joseph Kahn in a few minutes. Please bear in mind that besides the webpage of the challenge that houses all the key information, we also have a dedicated mailbox to answer your questions, which is now on screen. And now let's take a closer look at the online platform to apply.
So before visiting the online platform, just wanted to remind everyone in the frequently asked questions, we included question number 15, where we have a PDF with all the information that will be required to submit your application. And this is just a print screen of how this PDF looks. So this document was provided so that applicants can work on a Word document, but please submit your applications via online, the UNoodle platform before the deadline. And to apply to the online application, you go to the main page of the challenge and click on the button where it says apply, which then you will be directed to UNoodle. And for this, you'll have to create an account. You can sign up with an email address or with Facebook or LinkedIn signing credentials. If you choose one of these, either Facebook or LinkedIn, you will be we advise to deactivate your pop-up blocker. And if you decide to sign up with your email address, you'll have to put your name, email, and create a password, and make sure that this password is at least 6 characters long and must contain a mixture of at least one number and one character. And once you fill out the information, you can create an account and you can create a new online application. So once you created an account, you will be able to create the application. And as you go through the form and complete the answers to the questions displayed for the applicants to be completed. And please note, as shared earlier, there is a document of a budget proposal template. So you'll have to download it and complete all the information. And here is a print screen of this Excel sheet, where please note that you'll have to select what type of financing you're requesting. And then in addition, there's a tab with more information about the instrument guidelines. And once your budget template is completed, you can upload this Excel in the platform. And as mentioned earlier, there is a series of required documents that all applicants should need to submit. And you can only upload one document per field. And this document has to be a maximum of 10 megabytes size limit. And in case you have to upload more than one document, we recommend merging those documents into one. And please note that there are also optional questions in case you want to share more information about your organization. And if you have any audiovisual material, you can share it, but please make sure that this link is not protected and that it can be accessible. And once you have your application completed, remember to click on the button Submit Application, which is on the bottom of the form. And once you click your submission, you will receive a notification message from UNoodle, as well as an email in your inbox. And this comes from UNoodle. So please make sure to check your spam, junk, or promotions folder in case you don't see this email. And also in the UNoodle dashboard, you can see the status of your application. And once you've submitted your application, you can always unsubmit and make changes in case you went over through it and then you note that maybe there was a mistake or something. You can always go back and unsubmit your application. But please remember to then go, once you make all those changes, click on the Submit Application button. And in case you've created multiple versions, in the platform, you have the ability to delete the application. And this, we recommend in case, to avoid any confusion. So just general reminders. For any questions regarding the UNOODLE platform, there is this email address that the UNOODLE team will contact you. And this is only for questions related to the platform. And again, as a reminder, applicants are available to edit their submissions, but please do it before May 31st, midnight Eastern time, as is the deadline. And after that, you won't be able to make any changes. And again, don't forget to click on the button of submit application in the online form. And as a reminder, again, this is the general inbox for any queries about this challenge. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Monica and Dora, for that very comprehensive walkthrough. And for those of you watching us right now, we will be recording this video and you will be able to access it in the frequently asked questions sections of the BlueTech Challenge webpage. So it will be there and you can reference it at any point in time that you need to over the next 6 weeks. I'd now like to welcome our next guest, Dr. Joseph Can, a project management trainer, lecturer, and consultant with 20 plus years of project management experience. Dr. Can leads strategic and development project management interventions across the Caribbean region and works with public and private agencies. Dr. Can, our participants are eagerly awaiting your presentation. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you, Golda. Thank you to the IDB LabTech team and of course IDB Lab, and welcome participants and potential BlueTech applicants. So as our colleagues indicated, the focus is on developing and implementing innovative solutions that contribute to the sound management of hazardous chemical and waste to protect human health and the environment and address climate vulnerabilities in the Caribbean region. It may seem a lot, it may seem challenging, it may seem very frightening to some of us. But from a project management, project development point of view, and also from a person who lives in the Caribbean, I want to say to the participants that this is the perfect opportunity for you to become superheroes and defenders of the environment. I think right now in the region, we need innovative individuals like our colleague who presented, Edouard. We want more of that. We want examples. We want to demonstrate, that in the Caribbean region, we have the skills, we have the competencies, we have the talents, we have the right attitudes to create meaningful transformation where people and planet can prosper. As a colleague indicated a while ago, it's not just coming up with an idea, it's coming up with something that works, a solution that is relevant, a solution development impact. And therefore, in order to do that, there's the need for that innovative thinking. There's the need for that design thinking. There's the need for the development of something that is fit for use and fit for purpose. And therefore, colleagues, I know you may be feeling a bit nervous today, as indicated, or some of us may even be shy, but that's natural. But what is also natural, what is more natural in my view, from a practitioner's point of view, is that we shake off that feeling. So if you have that feeling today, if you're sitting down listening and you have this idea and you want to do it, but you're afraid and you're saying, no, it not sounding good, the name isn't sexy enough. No, forget that. Shake that off and let us put our best foot or our feet forward. All right, and propose something in the Caribbean that could transform and change the world. But I want to say from a pragmatic point of view, there are some steps that we need to look at. All right, so I'm going to give you 4 quick steps that you want to think about in getting yourself ready for this application. And to me, it's more than an application. It's a solution that we are going to be proposing. All right. So for now, kind of take your mind out of the application process. That's the easy part. Step one, colleagues, and if you're taking notes and we're recording, we need to scan the environment. To be relevant, you need to identify real needs. So we look at the 9 tracts of waste and so on. All right, those areas. But we need to find out what's happening on the ground. I would want to say to you this afternoon, don't just dream. Don't just go to bed and dream and say, yeah, I want to do this. No, I would say immerse yourself in the real context. That's the only way we are going to identify problems, needs, and opportunities. All right, it's actually part of design thinking. Spending a little time, all right, and I know we have a tight timeline, but we need to immerse ourselves in the context in which we operate, whether it's country, whether it's community, whether it's sector, whether it's industry, wherever it is. Because one of the things in developing your project proposal is to ensure that there's evidence. We must take an evidence-based approach in saying that there is a problem, there is a need, there is an opportunity. And that evidence should be able to be, to be used to recognize that there is an issue relating to indigenous communities that we want to address. There's an issue that relates to women in fishing, or women in agriculture, or youth at risk, and so on. And therefore, by doing that, we are also becoming and recognizing gender equity, social sensitivity, which is a key aspect of the project proposal or of the application that we have to put together. So in order for us to start thinking through problems, needs, opportunity, and relevance and development impact, we need to immerse ourselves. And therefore, before you write, it is important to scan your environment. And that's step one. Step two, while you scan the environment, participants, you are going to be having a lot of ideas. A lot of solutions is gonna, will come to the fore, and that's okay. But be careful of analysis paralysis. Be careful that we have 10 ideas in front of us and we don't know where we're going. And therefore, step two is very important in that you look at the most feasible option and you recognize the need to assess whether or not that solution can in fact incorporate disruptive technologies. That solution, how viable it is in terms of cost efficiency and cost effectiveness. When you look at that solution, you need to ask yourself, how sustainable is this? And when I talk about sustainability, colleagues mentioned the word, business model. And therefore, can this proposal include a business model that at the end of funding, can it pay its way? And that's what you have to answer. So not because something looks good and attractive, it means that it is viable. It means that it is sustainable. And therefore, we have to recognize that in deciding on the best solution to bring forward, you must recognize the need for disruptive technology, because we're in a digital transformation world now, viability, sustainability, and I also want to recognize replication or utility. If you develop something, for example, in Haiti, can I take this now to Jamaica? Can I take this to Trinidad and Tobago? And therefore, that issue of replication, scalability, and utility must be answered. So step two, identify your options, assess your options. All right. Step three, colleagues, a big ticket item in your proposal and for any project is implementation. And what we have to do up front is demonstrate that we have the implementation mechanism that will drive your project, that will ensure your project delivers within the time frame. So participants that are listening, there's a time to market window in development projects. If we don't meet the real need at this point in time, Someone may meet that need, or that need may not be no longer relevant. You may not be relevant. So therefore, we have to recognize that when we are preparing this project proposal, your implementation mechanism, which speaks to the right team and complement, the right size of the team. We have to demonstrate that I am not just the only superhero. I have a team of superheroes in various areas: procurement, finance, health and safety, environment, community, social engagement, and whatever it is, technology. So when we talk about technology, consider, am I going to use drone? Am I going to use GPS? Am I going to use smart infrastructure? What am I using? And do I have the team to demonstrate that capability? It is very important in implementation that you recognize your methodology. A colleague a while ago used the term minimum viable product. And minimum viable product goes hand in hand with something called agile project management. So therefore, are you saying in your application, to deliver on results, am I using agile? Am I being traditional? Am I creating my own hybrid model? But you must demonstrate that you can deliver on this project. So it's one thing to have the idea, it's one thing to say it's feasible, but it's very important to recognize implementation. And that's where we fail a lot of times in projects. Another critical area in implementation is your performance framework. You must establish the objectives that we are going to achieve, your key performance indicators, your means of verification, meaning to say, how would I know that I'm achieving or not achieving? And that's very important. In the language of IDB, they tend to use results matrix, all right? But fundamentally, what it is saying that I want to achieve this. These are my objectives, these are my indicators, these are my targets, and this is how I'm going to measure. And when you get into the application, you'll see it. But before you get into the application, think about it. And therefore, that lends itself to something called monitoring, evaluation, and learning. And those are critical aspects to your project proposal. All right, because at the end of the day, you want to demonstrate that you have a mechanism that you could have knowledge transfer, knowledge management, continuity, and so on. And that is step 3. And my final step, because I have a tight timeline, my final step really is saying to you, take the plunge. Go for it. Go for it. We are in the Caribbean region. We are in various member states. We have the capabilities. We have the capacity. We have the competencies. We have what it takes. And therefore, colleagues, for those of us who are afraid to take the plunge, I am encouraging you. Be bold, be brave, be a trailblazer. And very importantly, I'm going to end how I start. Be a superhero. We need superheroes for the environment in a time like this. And therefore, I want to encourage you, and I want to say thank you for listening, and all the best.
Thank you so much, Dr. Khan. Thank you for that those inspiring and informative words. And I'm sure that our participants are going to come back to your presentation time and time again over the next 6 weeks when they need a little bit of inspiration to keep them going. So we have a couple of minutes left, and we would like to use that time to answer some of your questions. So you've been putting questions into the Q&A, and I'm going to ask the BlueTech Challenge team to help me to answer a few of those questions. So Ruth, Dora, and Monica, I'm going to be putting you on the spot. We have a question here that asks, one of our attendees rather asks, are international organizations eligible for this fund as the UN agencies or like UN agencies? Ruth, that's a question for you.
Thank you, Golda. For this challenge, we're focusing on private sector organizations. And the reason for that is that together with a bank, we are also working with the public sector to strengthen the legal and regulatory frameworks in each of the target countries. And so for this innovation challenge, the focus will be on private sector organizations. Again, you can look at the guidelines, and they provide you with some details on the types of private sector organizations that we will be supporting. Thank you, Golda.
Thank you, Ruth. And since I already have you here, how about you take a stab at this second question? It's from Santi. And Santi is asking, if you have a business model that has been piloted but not commercially implemented, can you combine a grant with a loan in a single project to be presented in the challenge? 1, grant to test the pilot, 2, loan to scale it. What do you think, Ruth?
Thank you, Santi. That's a great question. So we do allow for combinations of products. And so we do invite you to review the guidelines, and you will see through the guidelines the type of product that suits the type of intervention, because as you mentioned, Santi, different types of financing products are relevant for different stages in the innovation process. And we've taken that into account in the types of product offerings for this innovation challenge. And you are invited to request a combination. For selected candidates, IDB will also provide guidance and may propose an alternative to the product that the applicant has come to the table with, based on the level of innovation and the stage of innovation and the appropriateness of the funding instrument. And so we will work together with you to make sure that the final combination or individual product that you seek under this challenge is really the best suited for you. So thank you for that question, Santi.
Thank you also for that response, Ruth. And I believe that the next question was linked to your presentation, Dora, or your segment of the presentation. Ronell is asking, why do Jamaica and Haiti have asterisks as countries who can apply?
Ronell, very good eye. Yes, those 2 countries had an asterisk next to it, because in this second edition of the BlueTech Challenge, what we are doing is partnering with the Global Environment Facility, and they are bringing their own financial resources to the table as well as IDB Lab is doing and the IDB through the Social Entrepreneurship Program. So we are kind of combining a number of initiatives here in order to help advance this issue in the region. So the GEF has a large program called the ISLANDS program, which stands for Implementing Sustainable Low and Non-Chemical Development in Small Island Developing States. And that island program has different chapters for different regions, right? So there's islands, Indian Ocean, and there's islands, Caribbean. And for the Caribbean region, they focus on, from those 12 target countries that we are doing in the challenge, they're focusing on 10, not necessarily on Haiti and Jamaica. However, IDB Lab is honoring the countries that we supported in the first edition of the BlueTech Challenge, and we are also including in this one Jamaica and Haiti. But please be mindful that GEF resources will not be allocated to these countries, but IDB Lab and IDB resources will.
Thank you so much for that explanation, Dora. Let's move on to the next question. An anonymous attendee asks, a simple budget was mentioned during the presentation. However, if you apply to a loan, a business plan and cash flow needs to be prepared to show how the loan will be repaid. If yes, how detailed should this Excel be? We would need the loan conditions to prepare it. Quite a few questions in there. Ruth, would you like to attempt to answer a few of those?
Thank you. So I think thanks to the introduction to the UNoodle platform that Monica shared with us, we have seen now that there are specific templates that we would like you to populate, including the budget template. So when you get into the actual application platform, you will see the kinds of documents that we will be requiring, and that will give you an indication of the level of detail that we will be seeking. So I think you can feel confident to move forward in the application and review the templates contained therein. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ruth. And we're just going to keep going as we have been. We have a question from Vandana who's asking, are the priority waste streams in any particular order? For instance, is plastic waste or e-waste more of a priority than organic waste? Dora.
Yes, thank you, Golda, and thank you for that question. In order to be able to clarify, there is no particular order for the waste streams. We just listed them as we were researching them. So no particular order. Whatever the waste stream you have a demonstrated expertise on, please feel free to apply. In terms of plastics, the plastics that we are going to, the waste streams that we are aiming to support are the ones that are generated mainly by the food and beverage industry. Single-use plastics, including styrofoam and polystyrene food containers, are prevalent sources of plastic waste, right, in these countries. So remember that we want to prioritize plastic waste that either may be contaminated by hazardous substances or materials, or sometimes these are mixed with hazardous wastes, and anything that may pose a risk to human health and the environment will be prioritized.
Thank you, Dora. We have another question from Wayne, and Ruth, I'm going to shoot this one over to you. Can existing Counterpart contribution be self-funded using existing export-ready inventory if commitment to purchase is provided by the overseas buyer? Ruth?
Thank you, Golda, and thank you, Wayne. That is a very specific question, and I think it's going to be very difficult for us to respond to such specific questions without having the full benefit of understanding your model. And so what I would do in these cases is encourage applicants to go back into the guidelines and really kind of review the Counterpart contributions section. And to clarify what we seek in terms of Counterpart contribution is that you, the applicant, are contributing, depending on the financing product that you're applying for, but that you are contributing 50% of the cost of the project. That means that we intend on supporting you to bring to the market a new innovative business solution. And that obviously implementing that solution over a period of years will take time and effort and resources. And we will share the cost of that time and effort and resources with you on a 50-50 basis. And your contribution of 50% can be half in cash and half in kind. So I'd rather not respond to the specific question, Wayne, that you've raised, because it's very difficult to analyze whether that is, what you're proposing there is 50% of the cost of the specific operation. So I would rather guide you and other applicants to the guidelines and reflect on the concept of Counterpart being that we, together with you, will be supporting the implementation of this new innovative endeavor in the market. Thank you, Golda.
Thank you so much for that response, Ruth. Thank you so much for that. And we have another question from Vandana. She's asking, if applying as a cluster, is there anything additional or any additional information to provide? Ruth.
That's a good question, Vandana, and it's also quite a specific question. It really would depend on the cluster. And I can think I can think of an area that may be something that you and your cluster members may need to give good consideration to, and that is the legal registration of the cluster. And as a legal entity, if your application is selected, we will enter into a contract with you. And so obviously the cluster would have to have a legally established entity. And we would need to understand that that entity has the relevant disposition to take on this kind of financing and implement this kind of activity. And so I think you may want to reflect on some of the due diligence aspects of the application with regards to the formality of your cluster. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Ruth. And we're going to take this final question from Valentine Lawrence, who is asking, is it possible for 2 viable projects to be presented for one waste stream? Final project to be determined with your assistance. Dora.
Thank you for that question, Valentine. Let me try to understand. So you're saying that you have for one waste stream 2 projects. If you have 2 projects, then I would think that you would have to write 2 applications, because each project has its own characteristics, has its own challenges, solution, population that you want to support or assist through the project, and the mechanics, the step-by-step, the intervention would be one. So if you're thinking about 2 projects for one waste stream, I imagine that what you need to do is present 2 applications through the UNURO platform. When we review the applications, we review them as a whole. And if there are some synergies that we may find in those, then we may end up determining that it could potentially be just one project. But again, it all depends. It all depends on the scope, on what you are thinking about that waste stream, and again, the different challenges. If you have more questions on this, really, I encourage you to write to us to the BlueTech mailbox, and we can have an exchange with you on a one-on-one basis to understand better what you are trying to ask here.
And Dora, I know I said that Valentine's question would be the last, but there's a simple one here that I think you can clarify in 5 seconds. My understanding is that foreign registered companies will have to register in one of the 12 countries or find a partnership with an already registered local company. Is this right?
So what is right is that if you are a foreign registered company, when we say foreign, we mean not registered in the 12 target countries. If you are a foreign registered company, yes, you can apply in partnership with an already registered local company in one of the 12 countries that we aim to benefit. And the reason, I think I explained it, but let me reiterate that the reason is we are trying to benefit these 12 countries, and therefore the technologies must stay in these 12 countries. They have to be materially involved in the project.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you, BlueTech Challenge team, for answering those questions that were sent to us today. And of course, if you have other questions, the website and the email address are how you can stay in touch with us. And we've shared quite a few resources in the chat so far. We have guidelines there. We will put this video there. So the BlueTech Challenge website is your hub of information, hub for information as you apply to this challenge over the next 6 weeks. We want to remind you again that the deadline is May 31st at midnight. That's Eastern time. And please do not wait until the deadline to apply. We want to make sure that your application has a good chance of succeeding, and that requires it to have sufficient time in case there's anything that needs to be worked out. So it's time for us to wind down this event that has been jam-packed with information. We want to thank our special guests for being here. We want to thank Edouard and congratulate him on all of the support he's had since being one of the winners of the BlueTech Challenge in 2018. We also want to thank Dr. Joseph Kahn for his words of inspiration and guidance as you go about this application project. And of course, we would like to thank the BlueTech Challenge team for answering these questions and being so patient with us. And thank you, of course, the participants who have been so eager to find out more about this. We expect to receive many applications from you. And to echo Dr. Kahn's sentiment, just go for it. Shoot for the stars. This is your moonshot moment. Take your shot and let's see what happens. Thank you all so much. May 31st is the deadline. Have a wonderful afternoon.